And it all comes down to this. The entire season, the riders have been stacking points for this moment, trying to get as high in the SMX seating as possible. And now it's time to take the very best riders and put them on 3 very unique tracks where they will put it all on the line as they all go after their share of millions of dollars. This is our SMX Preview Show. We're going to go over everything that you need to know as we look towards the playoffs. We are going to get you all caught up on the structure, the seating, just exactly who is where and how many points they are going to have. We have a few interesting storylines to go over, several riders that are qualified directly into the main events that will not even be able to be racing. We'll also cover exactly what is on the line financially speaking, not just for the overall championship, but each individual round as well. There's also some pretty crazy stuff going on with these tracks, so we'll look at that. There's a lot to talk about and not a lot of time to do it, so let's get into it. All right, let's set the foundation. We're going to go over the format of SMX. As most of you should know, the riders have been racing all year to collect points, and now we take that point total and we seed them from the highest point total all the way down to the 20th place total, and that is where the majority of the main event riders come from. The rest of the field will have to go through essentially a last chance qualifier. They're calling it some new fancy name now, but it's essentially a last chance qualifier. The thing worth noting here is that we already know for a fact that we're not going to have all 20 of those riders line up. And where a lot of people get confused is they think that the 21st and 22nd place guys from the seeding process will bump into the main event. And that is actually not how it works. That just opens up additional qualifying positions. So now instead of, say, taking 2 riders from the last chance qualifier, they will now take 3 or 4 or more as the season wears on. We saw as many as, I believe, 7 riders qualifying out of the 250 class by the end of the SMX playoffs last year. Now that we understand that portion, let's take a look at this list of the top 20 seeded riders, and you'll start to have an idea of exactly what we're looking at. So in the 250 class, at the top is going to be Hayden Deegan, and he's going to start off with 25 points. The points that you are seeded with is essentially a main event finish or a moto finish. So first place is 25, second place is 22, and as you'll see, it corresponds all the way down to 20th, which gets 2 points. Now, as you guys are reading through this list, you might notice that there are a few names that are likely not lining up, or we know for a fact that are not lining up. Starting off with Michael Mosiman, at the time of this recording, he's not on the entry list. Now, that doesn't mean for sure that he's not competing, but we all saw that crash that he took, and it did not look very good. So I would not be surprised at all if he's not competing. A little bit further down, you'll see Chance Hymas, and we know for a fact that he's out after tearing his ACL. Then right behind him, we have Mikkel Harup, and we're not sure exactly what's going on with him, but we know that he did just break his collarbone not too long ago. We have seen guys return from collarbones in this time frame, but he is also not on the entry list, so I would not be surprised at all if he doesn't line up. And then, of course, towards the bottom, we have RJ Hampshire, who's now competing on the 450s, so he will not be in there either. So realistically, we could see as many as 4 extra positions opening up in the LCQ. As far as the LCQ goes, there's technically only 10 positions that they allow into that. Those guys are going to be Lux Turner, Ty Masterpool, Cullen Park, Cody Schock, Jalik Swoll, Avery Long, Daxton Bennick, Casey Cochran, Henry Miller, and Max Anstey. But as I'm sure you guys can tell, there's already some problems with that list as well, because Jalik Swoll is out right now. Cody Schock has also moved over to the 450 class. Casey Cochran is also a pretty big question mark. We haven't seen him return yet, and it doesn't look like he's going to line up for the LCQ either. Looking back at the entry list right now, out of that list, only 7 of the guys are actually on it. Swoll, Cochran, and Schock obviously are not. So it would seem that they're going to need at least 3 more riders to fill the gate. The next 3 in line that would be eligible would be Hunter Yoder, Cole Thompson, and Hardy Munoz. After him, we have Enzo Lopes, Anthony Bourdon, Jack Chambers, and Carson Mumford. I'm sure they'll start at the top of that list and work their way down until they fill the gate. So look for 3 of those guys to potentially be in the LCQ as well. Even last place in the last chance qualifier still pays $1,200, and they do pay out championship overall payouts to 22nd. So you don't even have to get in the top 20. 22nd overall in the championship still gets a couple grand. So even if you just went to every single race and got last in the main event, you would still collect around a minimum of $8,000, and that's in the 250 class. So look for these guys to still line up and race like there's something on the line. Obviously, the pay goes up substantially the further up you get. Moving over to the 450 class, at the top we have Justin Cooper, so he is going to have the 25 points going into the first round. What I really want to point out right here is how close it is from 3rd to 5th. You see that Hunter Lawrence is only 1 point back from being 3rd overall, and I do believe a tiebreaker against Malcolm would go in his favor, so if he could have just got 1 position higher in any of the motos where he was off the podium, he would have gained an additional 3 seeding points. That might not seem like much when you know that there's 75 points on the line just at the last round, but when you look at last year, he actually tied with his brother for the overall win and just lost due to the tiebreaker, so 3 points could absolutely come into play. And what that actually looks like for Hunter is him literally just competing in one more Supercross or passing literally anybody in the motos where he finished outside of the podium. He was so close to being able to do that. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite him. Just thought it was worth pointing out. Also, I want to point out that we have 4th place Cooper Webb, 6th place Chase Sexton, and 8th place Aaron Plessinger, all coming back from their respective injuries, while AP is more of a sickness. Sexton, I'm not really sure that he's truly injured. I kind of suspect that he separated his shoulder, but we don't have any real confirmation of that. And then, of course, Cooper Webb is coming back from what we believe to be a meniscus surgery on his knee. Looking outside of the top 10 in seeding, obviously we have the giant question mark of Jorge Prado. Then right behind him, we have Joey Savacci, returning from that injury that he suffered at Redbud. And right behind Joey, we have Jason Anderson, who will not be competing in the series. And then, of course, the same thing can be said about Colt Nichols a little bit further down. So with that being said, we know that we're going to be taking at least 4 riders out of the LCQ. And looking at our LCQ lineup right now, at the top, we have Cody Schock. He just missed out on being able to qualify directly into the motos. If he did not have that off-track excursion at the very end of the motocross season, he pretty much would have been in there. Right behind him, we have Harry Koulas, and then the beta boys of Oldenburg and Bloss. Then right after him, we have Benoit Patrel, but I just thought it was worth noting he is not on the entry list. He's somebody who I've been speculating may not race, and as of right now, I don't think he is. Same thing can be said about Lorenzo Locorcio. He's qualified into the LCQ and not on the entry list. I'm not sure it's worth the trouble of him traveling to all 3 rounds. But shout out to the guy below him, Kyle Chisholm. He is going to be competing. Love to see that. Chiz did retire earlier on in the season, but he is going to have a last hurrah in the SMX playoffs here. He is like the king of LCQs. He's been doing it a very long time, and with there being at least 4 spots available, I do expect him to get into most or all of the main events. Grant Harlan had a leg injury at Redbud. He has not returned to racing since, but he's been back on the bike and he'll be competing as well. I'm kind of surprised to say that I don't think Christian Craig's going to be out there. We know he would be absolutely capable of getting in there, but I guess his Supercross only deal is literally Supercross only. He's not in the playoffs either. Kind of a bummer. I would love to see him out there, but doesn't look like he'll be out there. And then Freddie Norn did confirm that he will not be racing in SMX after injuring himself before Washougal. So with that being said, we only have 6 guys confirmed to line up for the LCQ, meaning we'll need at least 4 more. Looking outside of the top 30, at the top we'd have Romain Pop, then Dean Wilson, Marshall Welton, and Henry Miller would be the next guys who are eligible for those 4 slots. If any of those 4 do not show up, next in line we would have Kyle Webster, Kevin Morans, Jeremy Hand, and John Short. So look for 4 of those guys to be in the LCQ as well. Which ones? I'm not exactly sure. None of them are on the entry list right now. So now that we understand that, let's talk about the point structure. The racing format is kind of like a hybrid between motocross and a triple crown. They do 2 main events, but they don't score points like they do in motocross. They score points like they do in a triple crown, where first place will get 1 point, second place will get 2, and so on. And they do Olympic style scoring, lowest score wins, with the tiebreaker being the second race. The interesting thing here is that the points are only paid out as far as the overall goes, so they're not paid out each moto. Personally, I feel like it'd be kind of cool to pay it out each moto, because then there's a lot more to fight for in moto number 2. You would see a lot less settling, but nonetheless, I do think it's important to understand that the points are not paid out each moto, but simply through the overall. It will be a standard 25 points for first place at round number 1, then it will double to 50 points at round 2, and triple at round 3, with first place bringing home 75 points. The important thing to remember here is there's normally a 3-point gap between first and second place, so that will double to 6 points and then 9 points by the finals. So essentially, you would need to have a 10-point lead going into the finals to even be able to get a second place and still secure the title. If you only have a 9-point lead going into the finals, then you better hope that the tiebreaker would lean in your favor. If not, you're still going to have to go out there and win the whole thing. Next, I just want to quickly help you guys understand the payout situation. So there is definitely quite a bit more on the line for the 450 class, but they're both really good in my opinion. So for the championship, in the 450 class, first place will take home $1 million. Then as you see here, it drops down to $500,000 for second, and it goes all the way down to 22nd, which still earns a very handsome $25,000. Moving over to the 250 side of things, first place will still bring home $500,000. Second place gets half of that at $250,000. And then, as you can see, it drops off quite significantly all the way down to 22nd, which will only bring home $2,000. As far as a race-by-race basis, the 450 class is still really good. First place will bring home $100,000, second place $50,000, third place $25,000, and every rider in the LCQ gets paid as well, with third place in the LCQ getting $2,300 and 10th place bringing home $1,600. The thing that's really weird to me here is that technically, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to work this, but since they already have money allocated to third in the LCQ, and we know that guys that are getting third and fourth in the LCQs will also be transferring to the main, technically, as far as my understanding goes, you could actually make more money going through the LCQ and finishing at the back of the pack than if you just went directly into the main event and finished in the back of the pack. This really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so I'm assuming that they're probably just going to pocket the prize money for the positions that transfer to the main event, but that's just speculation on my part. I don't know that for sure. But if you assume that they're taking 4 riders out of the LCQ at each round, and that they would pocket that prize money that would normally go to those guys if they did not transfer, that's actually about $25,000, good little chunk of change there. Anyways, jumping over to the 250 class, for a single race basis, first place will be getting $50,000, second place $25,000, third $12,000, all the way down to 22nd, which gets $2,000. Then every position in the LCQ that does not transfer would get paid as well, starting off with third at $1,900 and last place, which would get $1,200. As far as the tracks themselves, they all look pretty interesting. The first round is going to be at ZMAX Raceway in Charlotte. That is coming up next weekend, Saturday, September 6th. It's going to be a day race. The first gate drop of the day will be at 3 p.m. local time. The track is somewhat similar to what we saw last year. It's essentially 4 lanes up and down the drag strip, and it does open up a bit at the far end once we're out of the stands. Personally, I'm really excited for the next round at the Dome at America Center. This is normally where the St. Louis Supercross is held. It was not on the schedule this year. Thankfully, we are still going back there. The dirt here is really good. But what I'm really interested about is what they're going to do outside of the stadium. The track does go in and out of the stadium. Otherwise, it would essentially just be a Supercross track with no whoops. And we really don't know what that's going to look like, but we do know that it's something new we have not seen, and that's always exciting. Then the finals are once again at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. They will still be on the drag strip. Personally, I think it would be even cooler to do it in the Speedway. But either way, it's great to have a final back in Vegas since we stopped going to Sam Boyd Stadium. Switching gears to focus in a little bit more on some of the storylines, I think the biggest one in the 250 class right now is definitely going to be the rivalry between Joe Shimoda and Hayden Deegan. We saw them trading overall wins throughout the end of the motocross season, and it was all capped off with an absolute spectacle out of Hayden Deegan at Budds Creek at the final round of motocross. There was a bit of back and forth where Joe got a better start and moved over on Hayden. Hayden didn't like that and yelled some expletives at him. And those words actually made it all the way over to the press conference when they were asked about it. Joe literally quoted what Hayden said, or what he thought he had said.
He said something about like stuff like that. Honestly, I don't know with this situation, because you know, they prepped the track really deep. So I thought maybe I brake checked him into the first turn, because I slowed down into the first turn and it stopped more than usual, so I had to go back on the throttle again to go to the turn. But he told me I cut him off. But also, where he lined up, they need to understand it's an S going into the first turn, all the way inside, right? And I was on like a 5th or 6th gate, straight up, straight to the first turn. It was a straight line, so it seems like I cut him off, but I mean, it's not really. I didn't really do it intentionally.
And then, of course, Hayden Deegan went on Instagram and corrected him and essentially said, no, you forgot about these F-bombs and that, or whatever. All of that set aside, we've seen Joe Shimoda challenge Hayden before at the SMX playoffs, but overall, Hayden has been absolutely dominant this year, and he's never lost an SMX title. We know that Hayden is moving out of the 250 class. He's expected to win this title, and it would be a great way to cap off the year. But could you imagine the drama that would unfold if Joe Shimoda is able to steal this thing away from him? We saw Joe run in on Hayden in Supercross, but don't forget, all the way back at the initial SMX finale back in the LA Coliseum, he was also looking to run it in on Hayden when he was up for the title that year. Ultimately, he has ended up coming short pretty much every single time, but there's always a chance that he's been able to learn from each of those experiences and he will come out even better this year, so that should be a lot of fun to watch. Another storyline to watch is going to be Max Voland. He's all the way up to the number 8 seed going into the playoffs, but this time last year, he wasn't even sure if he would ever line up for another motocross race ever again. He's had severe back and nerve issues, and he still has to use a hand rear brake because he essentially can't feel his right foot, but he's been getting out there and making it work. If he's just able to finish off the year around this 8th place mark, then he'll bring home around $25,000 by the time you add in the individual purse money and the overall purse money. And on top of that, he will be the top finishing non-factory rider, beating many, many factory riders this year. A little bit further back is going to be Austin Faulkner. On what I believe was his 9th try, he was able to complete a Supercross and motocross season back-to-back, healthy, without missing any races. Look for him to try to get through these next 3 races healthy. He has been practicing SMX and going quite a bit faster. The intensity has been raised a bit, but at the same time, he's definitely still looking to finish healthy, not take any major risks. If he can do just that and maybe build a little bit more confidence in these SMX rounds, look for him to have a really good Supercross year next year. And then I also want to draw your attention to the rookies. In 16th, 17th, and 18th in the seeding, we have Drew Adams, Cole Davies, and Parker Ross. All 3 of them are rookies. All 3 of them have had great years in their own way. They should be a lot of fun to watch these next coming weekends. As far as the 450 class, we have a bunch of guys returning. Cooper Webb, Chase Sexton, Aaron Plessinger, Joey Savacci, and Justin Hill are all coming back to return for round 1 of SMX, and they're all coming back from their own circumstances. Ken Roxon is essentially coming back as well, but we did see him race Unadilla. And then there's another really cool storyline right here with Valentin Guillot. He essentially just came here to try out motocross. He didn't even really know for sure if he was going to be able to compete in the majority or all of the races. Ultimately, he ended up scoring enough points to get him all the way up to the 18th seed, and he will be competing in SMX. I had a few people asking about him in the comments of our team changes video, and the reality is I'm sure he would love to stay, but we really don't know what's going to happen. I don't think he even knows what's going to happen. Right now, he's just looking to get through SMX, make as much money as possible, and then shift his focus to next year. Now, if you guys made it this far in the video and you're still watching, make sure you come back next Saturday for our race day update show. We've been doing them all season long, and they've been extremely popular. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys who has already subscribed and has been supporting the channel throughout the season. This will be our 29th race day update show of the year, and I make sure to try to pack as much information that I can into as quick of a time frame as possible, give you guys all the information that you need before the race. I'm also bringing you guys as many other types of videos as possible, like the team change updates and the rider number updates for 2026. If you are interested in those types of videos or you can appreciate them, I would definitely appreciate it if you guys could help me by coming alongside on my journey to 10,000 subscribers. Everyone has been absolutely killing it. We gained almost 1,000 subscribers this week alone. And if you are one of my 9,000 or so subscribers, thank you to each and every one of you so much. It really does mean a lot. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.